What if I told you that chasing money is the reason you're still stuck? That the more you run after it, the more it runs from you? Yeah, I know. That goes against everything the world teaches. But let's be real. How's that hustle been working for you? Late nights, burnout, anxiety, constant pressure. And for what? A few extra dollars? Temporary applause? The truth is, you weren't designed to chase money. You were created to build something eternal, something divine, a godly business. Here's the kicker. Most Christian entrepreneurs don't even realize they've been operating like the world, grinding without grace, building without prayer, and calling it success, just because the bank account grew. But deep down, they know something's off. Because when God isn't in the center, peace goes missing. And without peace, all the money in the world feels empty. Trust me, I've seen millionaires lose their joy, and broke entrepreneurs walk in unshakable purpose, because one of them was chasing money, and the other was walking in God's vision. So if you've been feeling stuck, tired, or unsure of why your business isn't breaking through, this might be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. In this message, we're flipping the script. You're going to learn how to stop running after money and start building a business that carries heaven's blueprint. A business that multiplies by faith, not by force. One that blesses people, shifts atmospheres, and outlives your name. Because at the end of the day, money isn't the goal. It's the byproduct. The goal is obedience. And when you learn to build with God, money starts showing up in places you never expected. The call to stop chasing money and listen to God's direction. Many people are grinding every day, waking up with one goal in mind: make more money. But here's the hard truth. Chasing money is like chasing the wind. It never satisfies. A Christian business should never be built on the obsession with income, but on divine instruction. God never called us to hustle ourselves into exhaustion. He called us to seek His kingdom first. And then all things will be added. Matthew 6:33. That includes money. The problem, most people don't wait to listen. They just run. When someone starts a business without first consulting God, they may find temporary success, but long-term frustration. The peace is missing. The joy is fake. And the money? It slips through fingers like sand. Godly business starts in the secret place, in prayer, in surrender, in obedience. Abraham wasn't chasing wealth when God called him. He was just walking in faith. Yet God said, "I will bless you, and you will be a blessing." Genesis 12. 2. That's divine direction. Let's be honest. It's easy to get caught in the world's rhythm. You see others winning online, posting their six-figure months, and you start doubting your pace. But you're not behind. You're just in training. God's process prepares before He promotes. The Christian business owner who listens to God might seem slow to the world, but is actually walking in divine acceleration. What the world builds in years, God can establish in days when you're aligned with Him. So before you launch that next product or chase that next trend, pause. Ask, God, is this you or is this me? That simple question can save you from months of wasted effort. Listening is a skill, and silence is a weapon. When you learn to wait on God's green light, you won't just have a business. You'll have an assignment. And once you understand the difference, well, everything starts to shift. Understanding the difference between a regular business and a godly business. At first glance, a business is just a business. Products, services, marketing, and profit. But there's a spiritual line that separates a regular business from a godly business. A regular business is built for survival or status. A godly business is built for impact and obedience. One chases trends, the other follows revelation. And let's be clear, the world doesn't need more Christian-sounding businesses. It needs businesses where Christ truly reigns behind every decision. In a regular business, the main question is, how can I make more money? But in a godly business, the question becomes, how can I glorify God with this? That small shift changes everything. It affects how you treat customers, how you price your services, and how you handle setbacks. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters." That's not just a nice verse, it's a blueprint. A godly business carries a different atmosphere. Clients feel peace. Employees feel purpose. There's integrity, generosity, and clarity that can't be faked. That's because the owner isn't just a CEO, they're a steward. And stewardship requires accountability. You begin to understand that you're not building for the next quarter. You're building for eternity. Even your losses feel like lessons instead of failures because they're filtered through God's hand. If your business doesn't look much different from the world's, it's time to ask why. A Christian business should carry heaven's fingerprint. Maybe it's in how you pray before meetings, how you tithe from your profits, or how you create space for others to grow. You're not just selling a product, you're serving a purpose. And once you see that difference, it'll be hard to go back to business as usual. How a Christian business should operate under kingdom principles. A Christian business doesn't operate by Wall Street logic. It operates by kingdom principles. That means faith comes before forecasts and prayer comes before planning. In the kingdom, giving leads to growth. Obedience brings opportunity. Jesus taught this when he said, "Give, and it will be given to you. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Luke 6:38. That's not just about charity, it's a business principle. Kingdom business flips the script. Under kingdom principles, success is measured by faithfulness, not just finances. Sure, profits matter, but peace matters more. Kingdom entrepreneurs tithe from their revenue, sow into ministries, and honor God with their payroll. They're not stingy, they're strategic. They don't manipulate, they multiply. And because they know who owns the business, they walk with bold humility. That's rare in today's money-driven market. Let's get practical. Imagine a Christian business that sets aside a portion of every sale to fund missionary work. Or one that hires people the world overlooks, like single mothers or ex-offenders, and trains them with dignity. That's kingdom in action. That's Matthew 25 stewardship. You're not just running a company, you're activating heaven's economy. When your business becomes a vessel, it attracts supernatural favor. But here's the kicker. These principles don't always make sense on paper. You might give when you feel broke. You might turn down a shady deal even if it looks like easy money. You might be called to rest when hustle culture says grind. But obedience always pays off in the long run. And when you build God's way, you'll start to see the kind of fruit that spreadsheets can't explain. Why money follows those who obey God's vision. People often chase money thinking it will bring them freedom. But the truth is, money chases those who walk in divine alignment. When someone builds a Christian business based on God's vision, provision comes attached. It's not magic. It's principle. Psalm 23:1 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing." Notice the order. He leads, and then lack disappears. Obedience isn't a limitation. It's a magnet for supernatural supply. In the world system, money rewards hustle. In God's system, money rewards obedience. That's why some entrepreneurs pray more than they plan. They understand that one instruction from God is worth more than 1,000 strategies from men. Think about Peter. He fished all night and caught nothing. But at Jesus' word, he threw the net one more time and caught so much it nearly sank the boat. Luke 5:5-6. That's the power of a godly business move. Here's the hard part for many people. Obedience can look foolish. You might turn down a high-paying client because their values clash with your faith. Or close shop on Sundays despite losing weekend profits. But every time you honor God above gain, you're setting up future harvests. The world says, follow the money. God says, follow me, and the money will follow. It's a hard trade, but a holy one. And the best part? When money follows you, it no longer controls you. You don't panic in slow months. You don't compromise your convictions just to close a deal. Instead, you walk in confidence, knowing that your source is not the market, it's the master. And when that shift happens, your whole relationship with money changes. Discerning between financial opportunities and divine purpose. Not every open door is a God door, and not every financial opportunity is part of your divine assignment. This is where many Christian business owners get stuck. They mistake provision for permission. Just because something pays well doesn't mean it aligns with your calling. Proverbs 14:12 warns, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." In business, that death can look like burnout, regret, or spiritual drift. Discerning purpose requires spiritual maturity. It means asking God, is this my assignment or just a distraction? One way to know, divine purpose brings peace, even when it's risky. Financial opportunity often brings pressure, urgency, and fear of missing out. A godly business moves with discernment, not desperation. The entrepreneur who listens to the Holy Spirit will avoid many costly detours, both financially and spiritually. Here's a real example. A Christian entrepreneur was offered a contract that would triple her income. On paper, it was a no-brainer. But after prayer, she felt uneasy. She declined. Months later, the company was exposed in a scandal. That's not just wisdom, that's protection. When you choose purpose over profit, God preserves your name, your peace, and your future. That's wealth money can't buy. This doesn't mean you ignore all profitable ideas, but it does mean you filter them through prayer. You ask, does this glorify God? Will it compromise my values? Is it building something eternal or just temporary? Because when you're building a godly business, purpose is always greater than the paycheck. The importance of planting where God sends you, not where it seems most profitable. In business, the world teaches us to follow the market. Go where demand is high and money flows. But kingdom entrepreneurs are led by something greater, divine instruction. Planting where God sends you may not look strategic on paper, but it's where supernatural results happen. Think of Isaac in Genesis 26. He sowed in a land of famine and reaped 100-fold in the same year. Why? Because God told him to stay there. Obedience defies logic but produces legacy. Sometimes God will call you to plant in hard soil. Maybe it's a city that seems unreceptive, or a niche that looks too narrow. But when God says, this is your territory, there's grace to thrive. A Christian business isn't about chasing the hottest trend. It's about stewarding the assignment. And when you stay faithful to the plot God gave you, He sends the rain. The harvest may not come instantly, but it will come undeniably. Here's where many entrepreneurs miss it. They move too quickly. They see others prospering elsewhere and start uprooting what they've planted, trying to chase greener pastures. But blessing isn't tied to location. It's tied to obedience. If God told you to build a godly business in your small hometown instead of a booming city, that's not a downgrade. It's divine strategy. Purpose trumps popularity every time. So next time you're tempted to pivot just for profit, pause. Ask the Lord if your assignment has changed, or if you're just tired of waiting. There's power in staying planted. Roots take time, but once they're deep, no storm can shake you. And sometimes the breakthrough you're praying for is hidden right where you already are. The role of radical obedience in building a business with eternal purpose. Radical obedience is the foundation of every godly business that leaves an eternal mark. It's not about partial obedience or delayed obedience. It's about immediate, unquestioning yeses to God's voice. Noah didn't wait for a second confirmation to build the ark. He just built. That's the level of surrender required when you're building with heaven's blueprint. God doesn't just want your business plans, He wants your heart posture. In the marketplace, this kind of obedience looks like saying no to deals that don't align with kingdom values, even if they promise big returns. It means launching the project God placed on your heart, even if you feel unqualified. Radical obedience is risky by human standards, but it's safe in God's economy. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him and He will act." That's not a maybe, it's a promise. Here's a practical truth. God often won't give you the whole picture, just the next step. And that next step might look like forgiving a business partner, restructuring your pricing with integrity, or serving a client who can't afford you. When you obey radically, even when it doesn't make sense, you create space for miracles. You trade control for clarity, and that's where God's power flows. Some entrepreneurs wait for perfect conditions, but obedience isn't about convenience. It's about conviction. And once you start building with that kind of faith, people will notice, not just your clients or investors, but your children, your team, your community. Because radical obedience builds more than just businesses. It builds legacies. And that kind of legacy points to something far greater than money ever could. Stories of transformation. What happens when God is at the center? When God is truly at the center of a business, transformation is inevitable, because His presence changes everything. It's no longer just about numbers, but about lives. One Christian business owner shared how they began praying over every product they shipped. Soon after, clients started writing back saying they felt peace, healing, and even joy just from opening the package. That's not branding, that's anointing. That's what happens when Jesus becomes the CEO. Another entrepreneur had been stuck in debt for years until they decided to fully surrender the business to God. They tithed on every sale, even when sales were low. They prayed before every decision, even the small ones. Within a year, not only was the debt gone, but their company began to expand internationally. That's not hustle, that's heaven's hand. When you make your business God's altar, He brings the fire. Transformation also happens internally. Many business owners start their journey with fear, insecurity, or comparison. But when they place God at the center, they start to operate from identity instead of anxiety. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That renewal doesn't just change how you think, it changes how you build. Christian business leaders who walk in identity lead with boldness, not burnout. And this kind of transformation doesn't stay hidden. Employees notice, clients notice, even competitors start asking questions. That's when you realize this isn't just business anymore. It's ministry in disguise. And the more you center your business around God, the more it becomes a channel for healing, hope, and heaven on earth. How to keep faith active while the business grows. Growth is exciting, but it can also be distracting. As a business begins to expand, it's easy to shift from dependence on God to dependence on strategy. But the same faith that launched the Christian business is the faith that must sustain it. Hebrews 11:6 reminds us, without faith it is impossible to please God. That means your spreadsheets aren't your security, your Savior is. Growth without faith leads to pride. Growth with faith leads to purpose. Keeping faith active means keeping intimacy alive. Prayer can't become optional just because profits are up. Worship can't be squeezed into 5-minute devotionals between Zoom calls. Faith must be prioritized, not just practiced. That might mean starting every workday in the Word, or fasting for clarity before a major decision. A godly business grows best when it's rooted in daily connection with the Father. Let's talk real life. One Christian entrepreneur fasts every Monday. Not to impress God, but to remind themselves who's in charge. Another sets hourly reminders to pause and pray, even for 60 seconds during the workday. These habits aren't about legalism, they're about alignment. And when the pressure of growth hits, these anchors keep you from drifting. You don't just build momentum, you build maturity. Faith also means trusting God when the numbers don't add up, when the plan hits resistance, or when He asks you to pause in the middle of progress. Those are the moments that define whether your business is truly built on the rock. Because as the business grows, so must your trust. And as your trust grows, well, so does your capacity to carry what God is about to pour out. Multiplication and provision. God is CEO and the invisible business partner. When God is your CEO, multiplication becomes natural. You stop forcing results and start flowing in grace. One idea, divinely inspired, can outperform a year of human effort. Proverbs 10:22 says, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth, without painful toil for it." That's the beauty of having God as your invisible business partner. He brings provision without pressure, results without burnout, and growth that doesn't crush your soul. In a Christian business, multiplication isn't always linear. Sometimes God multiplies in ways that aren't visible on the balance sheet. Peace, influence, team unity, or open doors that no human could orchestrate. It's not about just making more, it's about becoming more. When you follow divine strategies, your business begins to operate above natural limitations. That's when you realize favor is better than force. Some entrepreneurs try to be everything: marketer, manager, visionary, accountant. But when God is your CEO, you learn to release and trust. You stop obsessing over every detail and start walking in wisdom. You delegate, rest, and listen. You tithe, you sow, and somehow, even with fewer hours or smaller budgets, things begin to multiply. That's what happens when heaven co-signs your business. You may not see God in your Zoom meetings or Slack messages, but He's there, in the decisions, in the timing, in the outcomes. The more space you give Him, the more He fills. And when He fills your business, He doesn't just add, He multiplies. So the real question is, are you running your business alone, or are you truly letting the CEO of heaven lead the way? How to impact lives through a business that was born in heaven. A business that's born in heaven will always impact earth. It becomes a vehicle for transformation, not just a source of income. A Christian business is a ministry in disguise. Every product, service, or conversation becomes a chance to reveal Christ. That means you're not just serving clients. You're discipling them, even if they don't realize it. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." That's marketplace ministry. Impact happens in the small things. The way you respond to angry customers. The grace you extend to your team. The generosity you show when no one's watching. These are kingdom seeds, and when planted consistently, they produce fruit that goes beyond profit, fruit that changes hearts. Godly business isn't about being preachy, it's about being present, living out the gospel in the details of your operations. Real-life example, a business owner began writing handwritten prayers for each customer. At first, it felt awkward, but soon testimonies started pouring in. Clients said those notes brought healing, clarity, and even tears. That's not marketing. That's ministry. You never know how God will use your business to answer someone else's prayer. When your work is anointed, it becomes sacred ground. And the best part? You don't have to force impact. When you operate under God's direction, impact becomes inevitable. People will feel something different when they engage with your business. That something is the Holy Spirit. And once you realize your business is a delivery system for heaven's touch, you'll never look at your products or services the same way again. True legacy. Wealth that lasts beyond this life. Most people spend their whole lives building a financial legacy they'll never live to see. But a Christian business isn't just about passing down money. It's about passing down mission. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." That inheritance isn't just dollars. It's values, vision, and kingdom DNA. A godly business builds wealth that survives recessions, outlives trends, and echoes into eternity. True legacy is about what your money does after you're gone. Does it continue funding missions, feeding the hungry, equipping ministries? Or does it simply keep others trapped in a cycle of materialism? When God is at the center of your business, you begin to ask deeper questions. What story will this business tell 100 years from now? What kind of spiritual inheritance am I leaving behind? Legacy is also lived, not just left. Your kids are watching how you handle pressure, how you pray through decisions, how you honor God in dry seasons. They'll inherit more from your posture than your portfolio. And when you teach them that business is a calling, not just a career, you're sowing seeds of destiny. That's a wealth transfer the stock market can't touch. So while the world chases net worth, kingdom entrepreneurs chase eternal worth. And the beautiful irony? When you prioritize eternal legacy, God often blesses the material too. But now it has purpose. Now it has power. Now it's not just success. It's significance. And when your business outlives you, your obedience keeps preaching long after you're gone. Now that you've received all this kingdom revelation, here's the question. What are you going to do with it? Will you keep grinding, chasing money, and wondering why peace never sticks around? Or will you finally surrender your business, your dreams, and your plans to the one who gave them to you in the first place? Let me tell you something. God's way works. It may not be the most popular. It may not be the fastest. But it is eternal. And if you want to build something that lasts, that blesses others, that outlives you, then it's time to stop chasing the world and start building with heaven. Imagine looking back a year from now, not just with more money in your account, but with a business that's transforming lives, starting with yours. So tell me, what are you going to do differently starting today? Will you begin to pray over your business plans? Ask God before closing that deal? Shift your focus from profit to purpose? Type in the comments, "God has the best for me and my business." And watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the course of your finances and business. And hey, if this message spoke to your heart, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single word that could change everything. This is just the beginning. Let's keep building God's business together.